Good morning, Speedrun City. I want to see if I can get a satisfactory run, a bit more satisfactory run of this. Thank you, Live Split, for that noise. Before I submit the other one, perhaps there is an actual PB in store, and go. Starts. When Ayuk touches down, that might have been a little too early, too. Traveling, we spelunking. We kind of want to, like, sort of treat this as a potential submission video. This is Ayuk, like I just said, starting our pilgrimage, and this game is very much it's a action adventure, but it's Skyward Sword without the Skyward, or without the sword, and a lot more Skyward. It's all about movement and puzzles, getting the puzzles in the right order. And this is, of course, no major glitches. The big glitch in this game, still yet to actually learn just to make sure I don't accidentally do it, is you can turn into a hawk, eagle, one of those birds of prey. And that's how you move about the overworld. But not in the dungeons or the shrines. The big glitch for the any percent with glitches is doing that, because it makes all of the shrines completely trivial. We're being threatened by the void. We have a lantern that can let us see souls of the past. Images of the past. Maybe not souls, but it's hard to say specifically. There's a whole lot of random lore around this game you can find. It really tells you a story of what happened. For now, we just have to get out of here. And hopefully, I get a little trick here, nice and good. Because geometry of walls is sometimes a suggestion. We're golden. That saves at least 5 seconds. And while I can normally do it fine, any run I have started recently, it didn't happen the first time, let's put it that way. The method of timing for this is a load removal, sort of in-game time style. Hi, Melvin. Right, we can turn into a bird, and go over here, on off flap, as soon as the game tells us we can. I'll have that message because, never mind. I'm not sure if I've ever, like, purposely gotten those tutorials out of the way before. But this is not usually the first place that the game tells you to go to, but it is. It will put us in a nice circle around the entire thing. Ooh, perfect landing. And then I jumped when I should have activated the puzzle. A lot of what this game is you fly to a place, you take out your lantern, and you use your lantern to activate various devices using the same button that you jump with. So if you don't time it correctly... Whoop! Very tight turn there. I always go on the right side of that cloud to make sure I get it. 3 of these loops to go through. Flying in this game feels so good once you get the hang of it. And you can't underestimate how fast you are going. You are going so fast, actually. Ooh. I'll take that. Oh, I wanted to... Thank you. It's not important to, like, land directly on the puzzle, because you do have to give time to let the lantern come out. But... And even short distance like that, flying is always going to be a little helpful, because it is really fast. That's what I think I cut myself off from saying. You underestimate how fast you are flying when you are going full speed through the sky until you are about to try and land somewhere. And you can pick up speed really fast in midair. Here's the Heartwood. The Heartwood, where the deer spirit lives. Ah, a good pun. Pretty sure it's an intentional pun. But it is also the heart of this grove. The cycles on these rocks in here, they're floating around that we need to platform on, can be really tight. First one, not as much. But the second one's the tricky one. Like, I'm pretty okay with not getting it. Ooh! Alright, that was good. The closer you are to not making that jump, but still making it, the more likely you are to get this. Fortunately, that rock over there is the one we need to get onto, and I don't think it's possible. In fact, I know it's not possible to get on it that first time when it's passing by. You don't get there soon enough. But, in that given, that was pretty flawless right there. That was optimal. Now here's Lifla. We've saved them. Why I'm saying save that deer, our dear friend. But this place, like, it really shows off right from the bat. It's nice that we do this first because it can be kind of like a run killer if you're really going for a PB. So get it out of the way early, because it really shows, like, how much this game is about getting your movement as directly as you can when you're indoors and when you're outdoors. Knowing where you're flying. I like to call this game as having just navigational puzzles. I think that really resonates with me. Here's our other spirit friend, the fox, that will tell us their name if we go to the intentionally first dungeon, where, like, if you go to the village that was directly north from Kara's shrine, where we started, they would have told us to go elsewhere, and not here. Or east. I want to go to the archives first, instead of that one. It is neat, though, like, they'll guide you there, and then if you go back, they'll have more stuff to say to you, and there's actually, like, little character arcs in between each of these shrines. Including side quests. I'm considering developing a very specific side quest run that's not quite this any percent, but it's also not a all achievements run, which does all of the extra stuff and finds all the hidden little things. And this is what the gameplay loop kind of looks like generally. You go somewhere to get a key. You unlock a shrine with the key. And then you do that main shrine, get one of the pieces of an old relic that you need to stop the void, which we got a vision of at the beginning. This is why we do low removal time. It's very nice that there is a split program for live split that will do that for you. That is what the bigger time is on my live split, while the time underneath it is the RTA. Have a nice little dive. I've been doing that a little safer lately. Usually I try to dive right down to here, but I keep overshooting and then I have to climb back up, so I figure landing a little higher and then making a slightly smaller jump. Probably a little more efficient. Especially if I fumble with the platforms. Also, there was a chance that I would have fallen through the floor up there at the entrance when I was coming down some stairs. And I didn't, which is good. Because I don't know if that would count under major glitches. Like, the major glitch category is specifically so that you don't use the indoor flight, but it would have been a helpful glitch if it did happen, and I was aware it was going to happen. The first time it happened to me, I wasn't aware it was going to happen. It was catastrophic. But it would put me in this room, which is the first one I go into. It is also not the first door that it shows you after you activate these doors. Makes you think you should go to the one closer, but for routing reasons... Routing? I don't think I can get there in an early cycle. Whoa, that was risky. This is the one we want to do first. Now, because of where it lets you out. Where the other one lets you out. Though, I guess if I were to nitpick it, it probably doesn't make too much of a difference. This is consistently down when I get to. Boink. It is part of why I like it. I'm very much a platformer gamer. In this being more Skyward than Sword, there's no combat in this at all. That's why there's no sword. You do have a lot of jumping. You do a lot of platforming. You don't usually have that in a Zelda game. Not until Breath of the Wild, really. Outside of, like, dash mechanics. There's a big old scroll. Emphasize that this is the archives. It's, and it let us out right at the... right here. Right where we were in the first place. So we can go right to this first door here. If you pay attention to these souls, it's very, very much a reality over here once we go up this big ol' elevator. There was a lot of little lore bits about how they're keeping the knowledge here, and they're preventing, like a warring country from coming and stealing it. Bring down the further one first. Quickly bring down the closer one. Run. This looks so much tighter than it actually is. This is what I call the lore room, and we just don't. We just leave. I got very lost in there in my casual playthrough. I always like to note that, the first time I played this, I had my eye on it for a long time, but I finally was motivated to get it for a first playthrough race we did on a Lady Arcader's track mode. Those are always fun, but it's always a fun comparison, because Eliza, Z, and I, we have all picked one of the games we've chosen to focus in on a speedrun for, even though we weren't the ones racing. All the way down. I'm comparing how our blind playthroughs went to our speedruns. Very interesting. Ooh. There's our third glowy part. Make by Z put it, encrypt stop street light. This might be like the least straightforward of the dungeons too about where to go, because there's so many levels and 3 separate paths that aren't really like in any particular order unless you really boil it down, especially with where each one lets you out. Here's our first Greater Spirit. Keeper of the Archives. It looks like just a big old building, but it has a huge banner on the back, which is a scroll. See? Actually kind of neat, but this is my least favorite of them. And then they sacrifice their distance to pass on this relic that we need. Save the world. Whee. Hello. Get a vision of the void at the end. Shrine, once we get a relic. And then we leave, because we can't go back. If I had turned around, it would show that there was a bunch of rock and destruction closing off going back. Which in fact, you can see some of here. Now we want to go over here to Split Mountain. Not particularly to go to Split Mountain, but to... It's a nice navigational point. Know where I'm going. Let's see if the cave I am heading to up here to get to the monastery, I can bank myself into the cave from flight again, because I did that last run and it was really cool. What I've been trying to do. My friend's having ravioli tonight and I'm jealous. That route I did right there, I've been trying a little more, like, directly to it, but it leads to the far side of it. Doing it like that. Oh, I completely missed. Ooh. Okay. It's weird because, it feels like the banking's a lot more responsive when you're going fast. I probably could have lost like 10 seconds there, but I had a really good archive, so who could say? It was so cool when I got it last time. I wanted to do it again. Landing is also just not easy, so if you can just fly right into an entrance, it's very handy. Like, you have to really prepare yourself for your angle of attack when you're landing. Especially at high speeds like that. So a lot of the times, especially when we were first going through this game, crashing into a wall, best way to stop. Because if you hit any obstacle, I will untransform. We have the little light down there, but we can't be seen. Great. Activated all 4 of those bells, created enough of a cacophony to shatter both the ice bridge and the ice containing the key. Oh no! Oh, interesting. I had a lot of time saved there, but we're exactly on pace because of the blunder I did. The split before this was probably the one I was talking about, where I banked into the cave immediately. So, fumbling like that is my standard, I guess. That's fun. Oh, who's that up there? The Tails. It's Miles Tails Prower, best friend. That's something to say to us at the end of every one of these key locations. That was an unintentional pun, but I want it to be one now. Loading! Ooh. You hear that jingle there? The way you navigate yourself here when you don't know it, you follow the bells. The bells will lead you to the two notable places you go to up here in the north. Help you get to the roof of the world over here. This is the prettiest area in the game, if you ask me. Look at that. Truly the roof of the world. You don't actually have to have the lamp out for these little activation parts, which is something that took me a while to learn, actually. We're breaking ice with bells. We love it. Ooh, why am I going that way? Come on. You right in there. Another lovely loading section. I feel like these loading sections have been getting much longer for me. Come on. I think this is the longest one, though, that I experience. It's fine. As you can imagine, if your computer's a lot more powerful, or if... I think probably some consoles are less powerful than what I'm working with here. You're gonna just get different load times. Coming over here to do this puzzle first is something I've developed, personally. And doing it before I even get that first switch that we passed by is something I'm testing out right now for the first time. It opens up a door closer to a door that is not open yet. Normally we would walk over here from the right of where I just was. At least that's how you figure it out casually, because you don't usually notice this door here because you see this. So you go and do this, and those doors open, so then you go down to the doors. But it is there. And going there after opening those switches, getting that first switch to open the door, saves about 1 second. I feel like I have just saved a little more. We have these bell puzzles here. I opened the one that we were facing, and there's one over here to get to the door I was talking about. So there's this side over here on the right from where we entered. To activate this bridge, we'll go to the central area, and then we'll circle to the left area, and then we'll have everything we need to go above here, where I've just activated. Because this dungeon's really just... you are making a singular path to get to one thing, which is actually higher up in that room that I just left. If I had kept going forward, we would have seen the door where the Greater Spirit actually is. But I don't think I focused on that long enough to really notice it. I think it's that this level's sort of cyclical. Go in a circle, at least. Because the routing for the overworld is also similarly cyclical. Just guiding the light now. But most of the other dungeons are like, you have multiple things you need to do that are just spread around. For the first one, the typical first one. The first one we did, it was just all over the place. For the last one we're doing, which is typically the first one, is you have a left and right area, and methods of approaching those. But at the very least, I can say there's variety in these dungeons, and that's part of what's interesting. I also do enjoy that it's just, like, very aesthetic and atmosphere, not, like, combat-focused. Which I do not shy away from combat-focused games. Might not be sure because I don't, like, I've learned to speed Sonic Frontiers, actually, so... Any of my submitted Sonic games are just the platformers, though. But I'm no stranger to combat-oriented games. Tales of series is one of my favorite RPG series. That's halfway to a fighting game. In fact, there is a fighting game based on that system. Climbing the tower. This tower will lead us to where we need to go. Now, let's not get this activation point here like I did last time, because that cost me so much time. All it does is open that door there. So that if you come here first, you have an easy way back down. We don't need to go back down that way. There's an even easier way back down. After we go up enough. Oh. Oh, there's the light we guided earlier. After we cross that bridge down there. Because this light activates this puzzle point. Which activates that, and that's the door to the Greater Spirit. Neat. All for the orb. And this is our easier way down. The camera really fought me that time. Interesting. It's very inconsistent whether the camera will do that. Look at that aurora. I tell you. My friend Kyogre. Kinda. Like, what if Kyogre was more of a blue whale? And a manta ray? It has very explosive death. Very neat spirit. Not my favorite. We haven't seen my favorite yet. Each time we get to see the void a little more clearly. Just a little. Uh-oh. Not my best monastery, it seems. Did I fumble at any point? I don't think I really fumbled at any point, so... Maybe my test was incorrect. Or not incorrect, but just not faster. Perhaps my movement just wasn't as optimal. I don't know, that felt pretty smooth to me. Now we're going pretty much directly south. I like to go a little bit east, so I don't come out on the wrong side. Directly south, if you look at the map, there's like these areas that are like blocked off. It's like, don't go here. You would spend a lot of time in the clouds. King's Pass. This is a place that just has a lot of little tidbits of lore. I want to get down to this here. Windsong Falls. Next little puzzle. do not have to land directly. Take out your lamp, which takes time. Yeah. Everybody loves a secret area in the waterfall. Here we will get the Twilight Key. And here we have puzzles that really I need to memorize. This first one we have... because there's this first one, and then there's one that mirrors it in the actual shrine. I'm gonna make this go clockwise once. And this one, either direction twice. Match up the sun with the moon. And it's specifically I have to remember to do clockwise for that. It's gonna be counterclockwise later. I was late on that split, but interesting. Thought I took a shortcut that time. My landing also wasn't great earlier. So you really, like, yeah, there's time you need to get the lamp out, but you shouldn't underestimate how much a close landing can help. But it is hard to gauge. You are moving very fast in the sky. Hey, it's our friend. They tell us their name here, I think. They mentioned Medvin, which is what I call them Melvin. That's the old guy. Whoop. We're going to technically the first shrine. You can sort of tell that it's intended to be by its design. Like, we probably went to the... I would say the archives and the monastery are kind of... equal in difficulty. One just has trickier puzzles while one has trickier navigation. This one is, for sure, more of an introductory to probably both styles. It's split into two parts. Also, in terms of lore, this place seemed to be... well, it's called Eventide Sanctuary for a reason. It was a sanctuary for people looking, I think, to escape the war and the void as it appeared at the peak of the war. Like that person at the very start. Rather, that guy right there. We'll be safe here. For a time, perhaps. Does not look like anyone is here, though, anymore. There's not a lot of people anywhere here. The only place you find, hominid NPCs. Hard to say about... There is lore about why Ayud can turn into a bird. For sure, if you go and find it. It's actually pretty interesting. But aside from the animal spirits, not a lot of humanoids around. In fact, we'll see all of them in one place after this dungeon. Now, a casual player might just go forward and not go just bang a hard left over here like I did to go to this area. But given this entrance, the entrance to this area, while hidden, is closer to the entrance to the entire area. It's definitely the faster way to go. Start with this. Definitely not the first place we went for any of us for our first playthrough races. Oop. I'm hitting walls again. I don't believe you lose momentum from jumping. There's definitely a point where downward momentum will overcome you. But I think you will only lose forward momentum if you don't have it already. Not really losing it. Like, if you hit the wall and then you jump, you have a very, very small amount of forward momentum. But that corner. I need to improve my movement for this area. Like so. Go on that mushroom. Here we go. Last run, I actually hit so many walls, and it lost so much time. 1. And 1. Once you have these puzzles where you can set a thing in motion, once it is set into motion and it's going to be where you need it to be, you can let go of it and start moving. Not all of them have time for you to actually move when you do that. A couple of them did, though. So far. The biggest example of that one is the first thing I did in the monastery. Okay, so I activated this puzzle. This is the puzzle I was referencing before, where now I have to turn this counterclockwise. This to in either direction. Oh my goodness, that was a big old jump over the puzzle I needed. I do like to be consistent with whether I'm doing clockwise or counterclockwise for these separate puzzles, so I do the first one entirely clockwise and do this one entirely counterclockwise, even though the sun symbol doesn't matter which direction you go. Only the moon symbol that has a quicker way. That one's got lost coming up here. I'm not sure why. I just couldn't find my path. It was one time I was de-resting. Wild. Here. One jump. Good. Corner. Not really cut some corners, but hug some corners. Don't run into them. Running into walls slows you down. In real life and in video games. Pretty consistently. One of the most annoying things about, like, Sonic games, particularly classic ones, is that if you hit a wall, even if you did do a jump input, there is a point where once your momentum is cut, you do not have the ability to jump. So, not only were you too late for your jump, you don't even get to the satisfaction of quickly jumping over the obstacle that you were too late for in a slower fashion. You have to just flop. Luckily, you still jump when you lose your momentum in this. I compare things a lot to Sonic games. This isn't going to change. Not after what I've been through the past 2 years. Here's our really basic light the thing puzzle. The first thing. More things over here. But not that one. That is the one that would be the next in order, but we have to come back down here anyway, and go over there to get up there, to the door. So we might as well just go over here first. Unless there's like a jump I'm missing, but I've tried to jump from this mountain in a way that matters, and I've not been able to get onto there all too fast. I'll just save this, since it's sort of out of the way. Any way you cut it. And jump up there from there to do 2 jumps. Birds! There's so many random animals around. Got birds in here, and in several bird feeders, there's like distinct like bird shrines for birds to hang out in, which is a very nice touch as playing as a character who can turn into a bird. And boop, both sides are open. The bridge is open, which means the door is open. And there's rocks. Go see the rocks over these gaps and just get nervous. Bunch of fish here. This is my favorite spirit. Look at them. They've got these hand wings made of rock with a sun and moon in the middle. And just like a cool, like, light and dark Twilight type motif for the actual outfit. And then the coolest death. They just crush themselves and then everything crumbles. Let's see how time I am, because we're at like 20 seconds until... Ooh, look at the shape of that thing. Dang. And again, that last split was short, so I feel like these aren't terribly accurate. But I do feel like that didn't actually save anything. That's just sort of accurately where we were. Alright. Now we have to go back to the village. I say as if we've been to the village. To get to the lighthouse, to put all the relics in the lighthouse. Which is also why we leave this for last, because it's very close to the village. Village that is on the other side of this cloud. Very big cloud. Settlement, you'll see there's actually some like farmland, there's goats, there's NPCs. NPCs with names. The little girl is the one who has a specific side quest. Oh. That was a very late split. I usually do it at the very start of the cutscene, so... Who could say where we actually are? We've lit the house. None of these cutscenes are skippable, by the way. And... Well, the cutscene puts me on that side of the lighthouse so that I can look back at the NPCs and be like, let's talk to them one more time. I'm gonna go this way. Now, speaking of the animals that are around, is a special animal over here. There's a little island here. There are crabs. They have their own unique little setup, and it's cute, and I love it, and be a fantastic incentive. You'll also find deer-type animals. Of the spirit animals, there's one we haven't met that is still alive, and then there's statues of several others. And there's also, like, a ruined city. Like, a full-on... There are buildings here. There is lore. There is strife. And this area does take about 3 minutes. So we're looking at... I don't know what I did between the monastery and the Twilight Key. But we're looking about on pace for my actual PB, just so it's recorded now. And we get a little overwhelmed by the void for a moment now that we're in the Creator's Shrine where it is sealed. But luckily the light in our lamp has other plans. Plans to give us uppies. I know, like, the first few times that I've been involved in a showcase of this game, I, like, completely told the lore of this part, but I think this is the part where I stopped telling the lore. You want to find out who this light is? You gotta play the game. Or you have to read what the text I'm mashing through very quickly. This is a nice segment at the end here. Calming music, following a light guide. Makes you feel like there's hope, even though you're about to face a great darkness that caused the world to be in the state it is today, a crumbling peppering of little land masses. Well, we don't want it to finish that job. That's been the whole point. The void. Don't fall here. There is at least one point, other than running into walls, where you can definitely lose time here. Like that. Right, sure. I tried to jump over it, but I mistimed the jump. I was trying to be fancy. So, you know, sometimes don't be fancy in your run. This little door load here enter into the last segment. Not a lot of loading there. Done directly, this is pretty much like straight up a 30-second walk to the end. Once we cross this bridge, a few steps. One, two, three, four, five. And that's Air Memories of Old, any percent no major glitches. With a PB recorded to boot. Check, yes, it is recording. Several times before where I've recorded something, and then I've said a bunch of stuff and did a run, and it didn't record. But here we are. That's something I can be satisfied with. As we find harmony with the void by showing it some light. A gentle touch at the end.